Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai. All praise to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Now shalom to the elect. Alright? So yeah, I want to do a quick response. Lord willing, and be quick on what Apostle Unraveling just put out. You know, as far as, you know, responsibility. Okay? And responsibility typically deals not on a broad spectrum, you know. Responsibility is basically, you know, being held accountable. Now, what one should ask themselves is, what are we being accountable for? First and foremost, the scriptures talk about brotherly love, you know, being hospitable, you know, ultimately that's what brotherly love is, being hospitable, checking your brothers, you know, reading the scriptures, making these videos, going out and doing the work, you know, and that's the broad spectrum of it to get to the path at hand. But the scriptures talk about how this is a narrow path, you know, a straight gate, you know, which is the path of difficulty. And reason I mentioned that, or the thing I want to get to, is that within your responsibility, there's a job description, and you work within that job description to get the task done. Now, between camp heads, and camp leaders, and first, second, third, fourth in command, what have you, you know, even if you got a real big camp, fifth in command, sixth in command, those are high numbers in a larger camp, you know, and everyone has a job description, man, you know, and I'll say this for the record and for order's sake, is that, you know, we're responsible for our brother. We're our brother's keeper, no doubt, in every aspect. You know, the brother's going off, we check them one way or another, but it really boils down to, you know, the men that are in your class, so to speak, because, you know, even in school, you have different, you know, you got K through 5 or whatever the case is, or you got in high school 9 through 12, and each one of those are a grade level, you know, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. But even within that grade, you know, you got different classes. You know, you got the honors classes, AP classes, special education classes. So there's different classes and there's different grades, you know. Nevertheless, those men that are in your grade, if you will, those are the men that you're supposed to be on the most, you know. Those are the men that you're supposed to be checking the most, you know. And I say this for the record, you know, there was a brother that I spoke to once upon a time, you know, from a different camp, you know, that he told me, because he's second in command to his camp, he said if my quarterback says one thing, which is the number one, and if something don't happen, then it's my fault. And I thought that to be the most humbling, or the most noble thing. I think that would be the best word. The most noble thing that he could have said to me that when I have ever spoken to him. You know, he said, "Look, man, it's something. If the number one says something and it don't get done, then it's my fault." Why? Because things are, hey man, things. The apostles have a saying, man. Shit rolls downhill, man. You know, from the top to the bottom. And I say all this to say, because we talk about responsibility. Your responsibility is the man that's really up underneath you, man. You know, and then if you put it in perspective, if number 1 is constantly on number 2, and number 2 is always constantly on number 3, and number 2 is constantly on number 3, number 3 is constantly on number 4, and so on and so forth. Shit rolls downhill. You know, even the elites know that, man. You know. Or the scriptures, not the scriptures, I'm sorry, there's a saying in the world, as is above, so is below. As is below, so is above. It goes hand in hand, man. It goes hand in hand. And that's a part of the tradition, because typically the first in command, he has the most experience, you know, and he passes on his experience to number 2, and so on and so forth, going down, man. And then when you do it in that aspect, in that realm, you don't have to worry about so much. Okay? And believe you me, man. Hey, man, I say it because I've experienced it. Hey, man, that's how the apostles and the elders conduct, man. You know? Just like Apostle Rhymes, I was saying. If something don't go right in the camp, the apostles or whatever elder is dealing with your camp head ain't gonna call number 4 because he went off. Guess who getting the call? The camp head is getting the call. Then guess what? What do you think? The elder's gonna hear? Oh, well, I said whatever. Nah, man, shit don't work that way, man. You know, he gonna get it. Why? Because he should have had that man in order, man. You know, in check. All right? You know, and ultimately, that's how it rolls, man. That's how it rolls. That's why constantly Yahweh Shai was on who? Who was he on the most? He was on Peter. Right? Why? Because Peter was the head disciple. Now, again, shit rolls downhill. I'll just put the quotation marks up, you know, because that's a phrase, you know. It's a snowball effect, man. Because if Yahweh Shai knew if he stayed on Peter, look, man, these other, when Peter got on, you know, John or James, you know, then it would roll down, you know, to Andrew and so on and so forth, you know, in the order of the 12 and the 12. And we know that they kept order. Why? Because when Yahweh Shai was gone, out of the top 12, see, and that's another good example of, you know, just because you're not number 1 or number 2 or number 3 don't mean you don't have a high responsibility. And the key thing that points that out is because there was a great multitude that followed Yahweh Shai, but they was very keen on who they would pick to be number 12 again. All right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not, that's when Judas, basically, you know, he committed suicide, you know, he hung himself and everything, so they needed to find another 12. They needed to find another number 12. And what did they do? They cast lots for that number 12. And Mattathias got the spot. He got the rank. You know? So, and guess what? That man, Mattathias, obviously, he was going to be held more accountable. He had a more of a responsibility, man. You know? He had more of a responsibility. So the main thing is that, you know, I wanted to point out is that brothers should be worrying about more so, you know, the structure of the camp, and you know, deal with the man that's in front of you, man. Don't try to do too much, man. Don't make your responsibility bigger than what it is. You know? Your brother, that's the point of rank. You know, and that was the point of Deuteronomy, the 1st chapter. You know, that was the point of Exodus, the 18th chapter. Why Jethro made it that way. He told them how to do it. He said, look, they have to work their way up the chain. You put captains over 10s, captains over 100s, captains over 1000s, captains over 10,000s, and they deal with that all the way up the ladder, man. You know? And then what happens is, as matters occur, you know, from lower level from lower level brothers, lower ranking brothers. You know, number 8 will deal with number 9, 10, and 11. And guess what? When number 11 or number 10 does something that's off, number 8 will learn how to deal with the matter, man. He's being more responsible. He's becoming a better judge himself. Why? Because he's learning how to deal with a task himself. You know? Brothers gotta know how to walk on their own too. To where the point it's, you know, you're not always running to your camp head. You're not always looking to someone else for advice. You know? Nevertheless, the scripture does say, do nothing without advice, of course, but then it comes to certain matters, you don't need advice. Why? Because you've been through it already. You already know how to handle it. All right? And brothers can't be on some, you know, or, you know, he's a brother, you know. Brothers can't be pussyfooting, man. Brothers can't be sparing brothers' feelings. The example I always like to use is what? That Yahweh Shai called Peter Satan. He called Peter Satan. He called Peter the adversary. He told Peter, get ye behind me, Satan. More than once. All right? And Peter fell in line, man. And another thing I always like to use is what? A good leader is a good follower, man. The way you conduct with the men that are over you, you're going to get the same response with the men that are up under you. Why? Because the men that are under you are going to look up to you and how you deal with the men that are over you. And they're going to mimic that. All right? So, hey, man, conduct goes a long way, man. You know? Conduct goes a long way, man. Scriptures talk about what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation. Knowing that, you know, knowing the time that we live in. That word conversation, I believe, is hangnos. Right? No. And I believe that word is, sorry, not hangnos, because the brother got the name. You know, the brother from Texas, he has the name. Is anastrophe, or anastrophe. And that word is conduct, man. You know? That word is conduct. So conduct plays a long part, man. You know? Scriptures talk about how you treat your brothers. You know? It's basically a reflection of how you treat Yahweh Shai. All right? So it's a two-way street, too. You know? Paul said what? I know how to abase. I know how to expound, man. Just like, hey, man, Bruce Lee said it. Know when to, he says, when my enemy is, expounds, I contract. Meaning you come together. You tighten up. You fall back. But when he contracts, I expound. So it's a balance. So when you see that, when you deal with certain brothers accordingly, man, you know, you deal in the spirit. Not every brother you could bark on, man. Not every brother you could talk softly. You got to make sure they get the point, man. You know, Paul said what? I've become all things to all men. All right? He said to the Jew, I became a Jew. To the Gentile, I became a Gentile. And if I'm not mistaken, he said to the barbarians, I became a barbarian, man. Meaning, you know, those that are, you know, were rebels. They didn't speak Greek. Give me 1 second. I'm at the light. I got a chance. All right. Salakia. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 9. I'm gonna start at 18. What is my reward then? Verily, that when I preach the gospel, I make the gospel of Yahweh Shai without charge. that I abuse not my power in the gospel, right? Because dealing with responsibility, you have certain men that have power in the gospel, man, that have a certain rank. Well, Paul said, I'm not going to abuse it, you know. It says, for though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. Right, because that's the balance aspect of it too, man. Because like Apostle Ramla said in his video, you know, Yahweh Shai set the example of the humility of washing the feet of his disciples, man. Here, the greatest amongst you shall be the servant amongst you. Roughly paraphrasing, during the Passover before his death. All right. So continuing on, it says, for though I be free from all men, yet I have myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. And unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews, right? To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. To them that are without the law, as without law, being not without law to the Most High, but under the law of Hamashiach, that I might gain them that are without law. Right, see? And just a quick side note, that goes into, you know, basically, you know, going to the, being invited to a wicked feast. You never know who you might wake up at that wicked feast, you know? But you know in your mind, look, I ain't gonna eat that pork though, you know? Or whatever the case is. So Paul kept under himself the law not being without the law of the Most High, but in the law of Hamashiach, meaning I'm still have faith and not break the law, all right? So, you know, again, that's a part of being all things to all men, you know. So why? So he can gain the more, to be progressive in the truth, man. You know, we do whatever is necessary within the boundaries to be progressive in the truth. All right, Satan's in the midst. Okay? It says, to the weak to the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. Okay? 1 second. And I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be partaker thereof with you. See? So all things we do is for the gospel's sake, man. That's the point at hand, man. Our responsibility is to bring forth the gospel, to strengthen men, you know, that are up under us. You know, hey man, sometimes you know you got a situation with a brother that's over you, you pull him to the side, you deal it respectfully, man. You know, and not break the bands, so to speak. All right, not break rank. Don't go outside of your responsibility or outside of your jurisdiction, if you will. But you still, you know, you bring a man that's over you humbly to the side, you know, and you deal with it accordingly, man. You know, as a brother, man. And you don't do it with malice. All right? But that's pretty much it, man. I just wanted to put that up in there, you know, make that point to where, you know, of our responsibility, you know, is to deal within the confines of what the measure of what Yahweh B'Ashem Yahweh Shai has given us, man. You know, the scriptures also, you know, talk about, you know, having the desire of a bishop, which means having a desire to being a leader in the camp, and there's certain attributes that come with that, man. You know, and just because you're not number one, that don't mean you're not supposed to have those attributes. Because if everyone has those attributes at the top of the camp, then guess what? That camp will be very, very strong, man. You know. But that, all praise to Yahweh Shemi Al Shai, double honor to our apostles, elders, great millstone. Shalom to the elect, man.